Yo guys, welcome back. Today we're going to showcase my Rebecca build for Duet Night Abyss at Intron 6. She's by far one of the best farmers on the game when it comes to farming mobs. Just post up on a spot, drop the summons, and it's going to be a GG. So we'll go over her Demon Wedge setup, weapon choices, team comp, and Geniemon. I am live every day on Twitch, streaming Duet Night Abyss. We put all of these builds together live and also do most of the testing on stream. So if you're interested in content like that, or just yapping shit in chat, stop by. The community has been amazing with the switch to this game, and I really appreciate that. Link is going to be in the description. With that out of the way, let's get into it. To start things off, we're going to go over the tests I have done, specifically when it comes to Rebecca's Demon Wedges, and we will start with Onslaught, which I have heard has been suggested by a few other build guides, and this does sound very nice on paper, but sadly we can see with a very simple test, when killing enemies with Rebecca's summons, this does not proc. This was a very easy test, and yes, I understand in theory it should work, but things like this should always be tested on a new game, especially anything involving some type of proc to gain a buff. Now we have Trapped, which is indeed a trap. This is going to be a damage loss. I tested with 8 enemies within range, and we've seen a very large damage drop-off, making this not worth it in my opinion, when you could just have the damage constantly and not have to be worried about being surrounded by 24 enemies, and you might only end up matching the damage you would get with just a 48% attack damage wedge. Our next wedge in question is Misty Veil. This grants 30% skill damage, and Hydro characters gain attack speed boost equal to 27% of their melee weapons attack speed, and then a range boost as well, which is always nice with a character like Rebecca. But we're going to test out the attack speed boost for our summons and make sure it works and how we can get the most out of it. So we're going to start out with a weapon that has an attack speed of 1 and see how many times our jellyfish is going to proc. Bear with me while we do this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then a 6th. It'll go for the 7th, but you won't actually get it. Now we could switch to a weapon that has a 1.2 attack speed, and this is going to get us that 7th hit. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and now we get the 7th hit with this. Now we can try a weapon that is going to have a 1.45 attack speed, and we're going to see the same result we just got with the 1.2, where we still get 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It's going to go for the 8th, but we're not going to get it. So with that out of the way and figured out, we're going to want to go with the attack speed of 1.2, which works out perfectly because we are going to want to use the Wayne Wraith. And to simply get this to 1.2, you only need this Sterility mod, which is going to give you a 20% attack speed boost. And now finally, we can get into Rebecca's build. Since we have all that out of the way, I do have one wedge slot empty. We'll talk about that after we get through the rest. So we've decided that Misty Veil is very, very good because of the skill damage, and then also the extra attack that you're getting from your summon. Then we are using Prime Morale. Remember, Morale is going to be on your main DPS, and then your 2 support characters are going to get the other Prime Demon Wedges, the one that's going to give you Sanity, and then the other one that's going to give you 11% damage boost. Then we have our Sea Wave Wildfire, which this wedge is a must pretty much on every character. Hydro attack, skill damage, and then for Rebecca, it has range, which works out perfectly. Then I'm going to use 1 Blaze Spectrum, and I'm only going to use 1 of these because we're already getting range for Misty Veil, and then the Seaweed Wildfire wedge as well. So we're only going to stick with 1 of these. Then we are going to use 2 Blaze Inspo for the attack. Her Hydro attack is very, very low. You do gain a lot from her Intron 6, which we will talk about when we get there. But I chose to go with the 2 attack here. I have tried 2 skill damage. They are so very, very similar. Almost can't even see the difference. Then we have a Wings Inspo for max sanity and skill efficiency. So for your last wedge, I feel like there's a few ways that we can go here with this. You can either take another inspo for the attack and the efficiency. You can take a volition for the skill damage and the sanity, which I do think is a solid choice. That's probably the one I will go for most of the time. But I also think if you're just casually farming, something like Phoenix Wings is really nice, because then you really don't risk a chance of running out of any sanity. And to me, Rebecca is just a very locked down area and casually just click her damage button. So if you're casually farming, to me, Wings is going to be the one that you want in this slot. So although Rebecca does have a low attack overall, she does have this, which is increases attack for self and hydro allies. And then on top of that, like I said, when you max her Intron, the biggest buff here is going to be level 6. Rebecca gains 1 stack that increases attack by 3% for 15 seconds up to 50 stacks. This is going to be 150% attack buff. Another great thing here, which is the one I would really suggest everyone going for, and maybe not even going for 6 because she's such a casual farmer. This lets her have 5 summons on the field and instead of 3, and this is great. So to me, if you're casually playing Rebecca and not really maining her, I would just go for Intron 2 and worry about getting the 6 later on in the game's life cycle. For our weapons, we are going with skill damage on both. I did try the character attack percent, and the skill damage was definitely beating it out with these 2 weapons on. And down the road, when you smelt these, you're going to gain a ton more skill damage with them. So we're going with Rainwraith and then the X Duo dual pistols. If you are using Rebecca as a support to help you farm, another option that you could put on her is going to be the bow, and this is going to buff you. So this is a great support Rebecca weapon, in my opinion. Then we have Geniemon, and her Geniemon from the battle pass is actually cracked. For each summon summoned by the main character, increases damage dealt for self and allies by 4% for 12 seconds. And this can go up to 16.2%. And then an increase to hydro attack for the main character and combo partners. And this could also be increased by what wedges you have on. If you're maining Rebecca, please pick this. Other than that, if you don't have this, just pick something that's going to increase your attack or your skill damage or some type of hydro attack increase for you and your party. So let's get into our support options. And I want to make something clear here in this video. For these character showcases, I'm not going to show all of these support options. I am going to pick the 2 to 3 that I have available and that I feel are best for the setup. I do not want these videos to turn into 8 minutes of me talking about all the support. I do plan to do a video possibly tomorrow or the next day that will cover all support in general and very basic budget builds for all of them and, you know, where they're most efficient and so on. So we are going to take Truffle and Filbert here. I hear a lot of comments that are a bit confused about Truffle and Filbert. The big thing here with Truffle and Filbert compared to others is you are getting a 61% damage boost. This isn't an attack percent increase. This isn't a skill damage boost. This is a pure damage boost. And right now, very little is beating this in the game currently. There is possibly a bit of a downside. The AI in this game is really bad, and she probably doesn't spam that ability as much as she should. Unfortunately, hopefully that's something they work on. But in my opinion, I have her in every team, and I think most people should if you have her available. Getting into her Demon Wedge setup, it's very simple. She's going to have Serenity for the sanity gain for teammates, and then we're just going to build into a bunch of sanity and skill efficiency because we're not worried about her doing damage. We are worried about her just having enough sanity to cast her skill when the AI allows her. A big thing here too is getting duration here on these 2 Wings Eternity wedges because this is going to extend the duration of the buff that she provides. Then we're going to have Margie, who I actually don't use too often, but I am using her with Rebecca. The reason being is Rebecca has very low attack to begin with. And she is going to grant attack increase to allies. And once again, increases attack for self and allies. So really a great match for Rebecca because of her low attack, in my opinion. And then we go to her demon wedges, and it's pretty much the same thing. We're going to make sure we have uplift here for the increase to damage dealt by 11%. And then we're just going to give her some sanity and efficiency. We're not depending on her to do the damage. With Rebecca, most of the time when you're farming, the summons, your teammates barely even have a chance to go attack the enemies because everything just gets nuked on their way in. And if you're just standing there AFK farming, you'll notice that your summons really don't do much of anything. So let's answer the question, is Intron 6 worth it for Rebecca? I think if you're maining her, sure, do it. But overall, if you're just using her as a casual farmer, and I mentioned this earlier when we did go over her Intron, I would probably only get her to 2, if even that. It is just nice to have the 5 summons at a time. But if you're just casually playing Rebecca, I wouldn't bother going to Intron 6 right now. Keep her at none or get her to 2 if you really are using her. But if you're maining her and you love her, and I know some people do, then bring her to 6. And that covers everything for our Rebecca build guide. Any questions or suggestions about the build, please let me know in the comments. I'm always open to ideas or criticism. Look forward to a Lady Knifel build possibly tomorrow. And then I'm also working on that support build, covering basic builds for all the supports. And we will be live today on stream, and the next day, and the next day, and the next day, and the next day. So stop by there if you have any questions. Like and subscribe is appreciated. Thanks, guys. Peace.